Most of us handle pressure pretty well, most of the time. But when it doesn't let up, or comes from too many directions at once, pressure turns into stress. What stresses you?
I have so many things to do.
There's sometimes where I just want to just quit and just say, get me out of here.
Senioritis, pretty hectic.
It's caused me kind of, sometimes my sanity.
From a lot of stress I had, I got an ulcer.
I used to want to grow back.
I'm at the bottom of the pit.
But now I look back and I wanted to be a kid again, you know?
What worries me the most is getting shot. You gotta watch your back. It's a dangerous place to live.
It's like I don't know what's important to me anymore.
I think stress is caused by a lot of pressures upon you.
Yes, I do experience stress.
I think stress can be measured in how you react to the pressures.
I guess stress comes from my insecurity.
See my calendar. It's like every day I've got everything scheduled out.
Tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock.
I usually have to wake up around 6 or so.
I hate it. I have to get up at 5 in the morning.
I leave for school around 7 o'clock.
Be at school at 6:30.
Well, I get out of school and then teach gymnastics until 6, get to Baskin-Robbins at 6:30, come home at 11, do my homework. There's so many things that I love to do, and they have their different payoffs. I'm captain of my drill team, dance team, and when I get out on the floor with our routine and they say at the beginning, Captain Sonia Hughes, it's such a high.
If I have so many things, just like week after week or day after day doing the same thing, having the same rigorous schedule, then there comes a point where I'm just tired of it. I just want to break, and I don't really care about the consequences if I don't do this.
It costs me sleep.
It costs me just time and sleep and just a lot of energy.
It costs me relationships. I don't have time for my friends as much as I love them dearly.
I hurt myself by having sex with people, getting drunk. I wanted to be the bad person in the family because that's how everyone always looked at me.
All my life, father pushed me and tried to get me to be my best, but he pushed in a way that it hurt me on the inside.
When I see him, he's like, he asks how I'm doing and stuff like that. It seems like just because he says that, he says he loves me and stuff. Sometimes, you know, like, does he really mean that and stuff?
My stepfather was the first person that I noticed that was heavily into alcohol. He was always drunk. He would be gone, and we'd be like, where is he? And Mom would go straight to the beer joints, you know, and she would find him at one of them and tell him to come home or whatever. I want out of this that I'm in.
What I basically want to do is just get back at my parents. When they make me angry, they make me want to go out and do things that I'm not supposed to.
So I always felt like I was a failure because I was never good enough. And I would try to go out of my way to achieve more and more things to compensate.
I can't communicate with my mother. I can't communicate with my brother. It's just, we all on different levels.
I mean, I'm in a dark room right now. I feel like there's nobody who cares, nobody who wants to get involved in my life.
I go to a private school, a Catholic school too. It's really hard school too. I mean, dealing with the people who all, you know, I'm not stereotyping people that go to private schools, but most of them are very wealthy, and snob is the word that comes to mind.
Senioritis, that's a big thing at my school. It's an excuse, and I suffer from it. I've noticed that I'm really slipping in my schoolwork. I used to do all my work before I got to school. Now I do it in my other classes.
The one thing that I don't have payoffs for is school, because it's just not a high priority in my life. The way that I haven't picked up a book this whole year. Don't tell my English teacher that, but I haven't.
School for freshman and sophomore year was pretty easy. Just kind of laid back classes, and this year got pretty hard. A lot has to do with, because my brother, school was really easy for him. I'm kind of my own little personal competition thing with him. So I try to, I don't know, my parents tell me I shouldn't, but I still try to catch up with them, I guess.
School is not my major pressure. I spend most of my time doing debate. I would cancel most of my activities and just go home from school and work on debate. Last year when I did that for a 2-week period, I worked for 8 hours a night every single evening. And so I sort of found that that is not the thing to do. I missed a week of school after that. My debate partner threw up before finals. It was not a good experience.
My goal is really just so I can get into college and go into like a film school is what I plan to do. And I don't know, the ones I'm looking at, I have to work really hard to get into. I get tired a lot, and I usually get run down and sick after I've been for a huge exam. My parents wish that I wouldn't take so many hard classes and not try to be like my brother. But, because most of the pressure is put on by myself. From a lot of stress I had, I got an ulcer in my esophagus right here. I figured it would happen. I'd get an ulcer someday. I don't know, because at that time I was doing a lot of work. I had to play, and the classes were really starting to heat up, and so I could feel I was getting run down.
The biggest stress right now is dating and trying to impress the opposite sex.
I would like this guy, and I'll hear something, and I won't hear anything from him about it. So I'll worry that it's true, and then I'll deny it, and I'll know it's not true. And then he'll take me out, and I'll be so happy, and then I'll come home, and I'll think, I didn't even ask him about it. I don't want to hear these rumors, and if they're not true, I definitely don't want to worry about it, because I'll sit at home and worry myself to death.
We went out for a year and a half, and now, right after we broke up, he started going out with one of my friends, and that hurt really bad.
We were getting very close emotionally, talking to him, sharing a lot of things which had happened, earlier in our lives, which were very painful. And after that, we noticed that we just kind of fell into the physical aspect because it was so easy to go from the really close emotional to the really close physical.
I live in the near north side of Chicago. It's a rough area, and there's lots of shooting, gang bang going on and stuff.
Things that go on there is like drugs, gangs, people getting killed, people getting stuck up, getting robbed, getting beat up for no reason.
For a while, I carried a gun because I felt really scared. It was my friend's birthday, and I was at a party. It was a party near our house, and the gangs, they just came by and started shooting because there was one gangbang in there. They drove by and started shooting, and I was trying to get out the way. And I got shot in the foot.
One of my fears is just one day I might not make it.
I went for a test for HIV and STDs, and it was really scary. Thought about it a lot the weeks before. I was really, I wanted to get it over with as quick as I could. And then when it came, the day came that I was gonna have it done, I didn't want to go. I was like, well, I don't have anything, it doesn't matter. There was 3 test results that they gave you right there for STDs, but there was the HIV and the major STDs like gonorrhea and syphilis. Those took a week. So I got to wait a week. That wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. It was really stressful. I kept calling the lab. They'd say, oh, it'll come in tomorrow morning, I'll call you. And the lady was really nice, I guess she knew how I felt. But she called me the next day and she said, I didn't have the results back, but I will this afternoon. So I called back the next afternoon, and she didn't have the results back. When I finally did get a hold of her, she said, I said, do you have the test results? And she said, yeah, I have the test results. And when she said, yeah, I was like, great, thank you. Because I thought maybe I had something. And she said, you have nothing, you just came out negative.
I think that if I mellowed out and didn't do so many things that I know I'd have to face a lot of the things that hurt me. It's just easier just to deny them and just to pretend like they're not there. Maybe being in all these leadership roles that I am, maybe that's why, because I want people to look at me and say, gee, she's got her act together. Because when I was little, the neighbor kids would make fun of me, and at school they would, and I had no esteem, and I wasn't proud of what I did.
It's this simple. If I don't find ways to neutralize stress, stress will neutralize me. But doing something about stress is easier said than done.
Mom, my mother, and I always argued, and to get out of that, I turned to drugs and alcohol. And I felt better. I felt like I felt better about myself and wouldn't have to think about home. Now I'm trying gradually, slowly, to get out of this pit. Because I know at the top there's the hope.
What I've been trying to do is do it like on my own. And I'm trying to just say, hey, I control my life. I know what I'm doing. As long as I keep on this pace, and I get it done. And so it kind of makes me realize that it's really God who's in control.
I'm not really sure why I push myself as hard as I do. I mean, success is one thing, but there's also happiness, but I don't know how to find that.
I could not have handled this last year, and things seem a lot better though. I'm not as stressed as most people I know, just because I know where I can put my faith, and I know people who I can talk to about stress, and God's one of them.
I was brought up in a Christian home. I went to a private school until I was in 3rd grade. I was homeschooled until I was in 6th grade. And, always went to church, lived at church. Maybe I'm just angry right now about that, but I don't like God. I'm sure I'll get over it and not be angry about that and not blame it on anyone particularly and not hate God or whatever so much, but right now I guess I have to go through my emotions first.
In the back of my mind, I know the only thing that will help me is God. I mean, I know that, but I can't always, read the Bible or whatever, or pray. And so, I know that's my way out or whatever, out of my hole.
What's the biggest stress in your life? What could keep you from dealing with it? What do you want to do about that?
That song, Wholehearted, everybody has their own hole, and it's empty. And we all try to use different things to fill up our hole, to make us feel content and full. People use alcohol, food, busyness, family, anything else, but your hole is never completely filled. In the song it says, there's a hole in my heart that can only be filled by you. And it's true. The only way to fill it is by God. Turn it all over. And I know that, I just haven't done it. I don't know why.
you did something wrong?
Something bad happened. When a family member is dying or something.
Well, to tell the truth, lately I haven't prayed much.
Like all the time. Like when I go to sleep, when I wake up, when I eat, in church.
I would pray the most when I needed something from the Lord or when I was in trouble.
Every night.
When I feel the need for the Lord's forgiveness. Like, just when I need Him to be by my side for the day.
And when I'm in trouble, you know, getting ready to get in trouble or something, people getting ready to jump me or something like that, then you start praying.
Before I go to bed and at dinner time.
I do it whenever I feel down or just pray for somebody that's hurt and needs to be helped.
Or you just want somebody to talk to, you know, just pray, I guess.
Yeah, when I was in basic training, I was praying hard.
After I got into my accident and I was in the hospital, I was praying to get out and be okay.
I pray every day for just the day of life.
When I go to bed at night and whenever I'm in trouble.
I pray every day, and it's a personal thing between me and God. And if I want a friend to talk to and I don't have anybody else to talk to, I can talk to God.
Spring break, and 53 of us came from the Rocky Mountains to the Pacific. It's not what you might think. We went to the beach, and we spent a day at Disneyland, but the real reason for our trip lies in the heart of Los Angeles. Five days in downtown in South Central LA, 5 nights in the Huntington Hotel. We'll spend the rest of our lives practicing what we've learned from the Center for Student Missions.
There's our hotel. This is Lighthouse Church, and it's a church that gives out food and clothes and has a free grocery store in the back that is just for the homeless and the poverty-stricken.
Once you really get here, you really see what it's really like, and it's a lot more reality than what we see on the TV.
It's there. It's ready.
We served breakfast, and some of us cooked it, and some of us served it, and I was a server. Then we got to eat breakfast afterwards, and I didn't eat because I gave up my food. I've never gone without food. Now I'm kind of seeing how it is, but now I kind of wonder how people are who don't get to eat, you know. And I'm griping about not eating for the morning.
I was carrying Steve around my shoulders, and he saw a guy laying on the floor, and someone was giving him a back rub or something. And he looked down, and he said, "Is he dead?" I mean, he's only 4 years old.
We're going to drop our vans off and head over to Los Familias Daycare Center, where there's Los Familias Daycare Center, where there's a ton of kids who have absolutely no adult contact.
The minute you walk in the door, they're all over you. I guess it's good that there's a place like this for the kids to come. When I come in here, I feel like I'm in a prison right now.
I really fear the violence that they have in them right now and the anger that they have built into them. That really scares me because they're so young and they're just really angry with each other. They punch each other and stuff.
You almost wonder what kind of families they come from because they just cling to you. You just wonder what kind of a house they must live in if they have to get that much love from us.
Where we were at, there was this whole jungle gym full of these crazy kids. I looked over and there was this boy kind of nestled in the corner, asleep with all this chaos going on. Sleep was kind of his only way out, his only escape.
The first school we went to, let's say, has a ratio of about 80 kids to 2 teachers, and then we went to a different school where they had a student-teacher ratio of about 1 to 20. And the kid's really nice. I mean, one of the kids gave me his phone number, and I think affection has a lot to do with how the kids end up acting. Like that? Is that a good dinosaur for you?
Today I was kind of hesitant to get up on a trampoline with some kids that I just didn't know, because I'm not used to that kind of thing. But these little kids just like clung on to me, and they just jumped on me and held me so tight. The thing that I couldn't understand was how could they love me so much when they didn't even know me.
Skid Row is one of 3 areas that we have coined as big bucks, spend bucks, and then no bucks. Big bucks being where the big businesses are, the skyline, the money, the banks, the law firms. Spend bucks being the area of shopping centers, the little malls, and then no bucks, which is Skid Row and the poverty and the missions.
Stuck in my mind from last night was the dramatic change from like no bucks to big bucks within just a matter of one street.
There's 2 different kinds of homeless that I see in the streets. The guy with the grocery cart, with everything that he owns, walking by himself. And on the other side of that are the homeless that you see more of nowadays. And that's the community style homeless, where you've got 15 to 20 guys with their pallets and their burning grocery carts.
The big shock came is when we were driving down Skid Row and actually seeing those fires just there and people in cardboard boxes just huddling together. I mean, that's something you see in a movie, but it was 10 feet away, and the only thing that was separating me from those people was just glass.
The 4th area that we talk about in the city of Los Angeles is anything for a buck. This area being the area of prostitution, male and female prostitutes. Most of these women and men are drug addicted. One person told me, and I use quite often, as city employees, whereas anybody in the city can employ them. And because of that, there's a lot of disease and sickness that infiltrates them.
I saw a man and his son lying on a wooden pallet and with a blanket over them on the ground. And I saw a lady in a cardboard box that was probably 2 by 3, just all curled up.
We saw them just sleeping on the roads with their feet sticking out of the box and their whole head and their upper body inside the box.
This one part of town, they had boxes that they put like all around their body, and it covered from their head to their toes. They were lined up pretty regularly, and it really looked like coffins.
I went back to my room and just cried. I couldn't handle it.
It just hit me that these are real people, and those are their real homes. And then just 1 block away from all that, we went into that hotel, and I felt really sick. I have an appreciation for the beauty of that hotel. I mean, that was a beautiful, beautiful building. But at that minute, I've never seen something so profoundly stupid.
I mean, the highest rate is like $2,000 for a suite. And I walked in and just, I couldn't take it. I felt angry. I just walked out.
The people that were staying in that hotel just were like oblivious, I guess, to the people that were living around them in boxes. I guess at one time there was I think it was an earthquake, and all the people from that hotel went out in their pajamas and went over and had to go into the Skid Row area. The homeless people invited them into their hotel and welcomed them.
When I walk down the street at home, I see the homeless people, and they're dirty and they aren't like I am.
When you're down there walking among them, I couldn't just say, well, the homeless people are just a group. Everybody has a different story that you meet down there. I just can't ignore that.
If you just talk to them, they're exactly the same as anyone else, and a lot of them are more educated.
When I've been talking to them and seeing that they are real people, and it's just the dirt that covers up their humanness.
I think people need to start looking at that and looking at people for who they are, and just like Christ would have done, is he looks at people as his, he just looks at them, like, he doesn't look and say, oh, well, you're white, you're black, you're poor, you're rich, you're dirty, you're clean. He just looks at it as all, as the sheep.
We were going to the daycare today. This guy comes running out of his hotel, and he's like, wait, I need to ask you a question. He's like, you guys look different. Why are you here? You guys just look different. I mean, there's 25 white people crossing the street. I'm sure we stood out a little. It was just kind of neat because the more I thought about it, the more I want people to ask me that question. Why are you different?
The main thing that struck me the most is like working at the LA Mission. I was sitting there and I was getting my ear chewed off about something. And I mean, it made me feel really weird because like I was giving them food and yet it was really kind of hard because she was yelling at me about stuff and I was just like, I don't know. And then I tried to put myself in that place. That was the first half of what I saw, was just the anger in a lot of the people. There's a lot of anger in a lot of these people. Then the second half of what I saw was there's also a lot of love and a lot of true spiritualness. I saw this in a guy that came up to me in the line. He looked at me and he was like so thankful for me, and he was so strong in God, and it really made me hurt because he just looked at me and he showed a lot of love, and it made me feel good in a way. And I thought of what I was making him feel like. And I know that I was really making a difference in his life.
When Hans had taken us up onto that hill, he taught us to look into those cities and see the individual people on the street corners, how many people there are out there. And now that we've left, that week I lived there is now in a memory for me.
It's so easy for me to see, even now, the homeless as a group. Everybody has a different story that you meet down there.
I would go to school and people would say, how was your trip? How was Disneyland? And I'd say, oh, it was okay. And I'd try and tell them then about the streets and stuff. They'd say, that's great. How was Disneyland? You know, and it made me really mad. I was like, I don't care about Disneyland. Why don't you listen to what I'm telling you? This is more important. I have more fun here. It makes me really sad that they can't see.
You don't have to come to Los Angeles to connect with the Center for Student Missions. They work in Chicago and Washington, D.C. too. Come for a day, a weekend, a week, or a career. For information, call 714-248-8200.
These people are just exactly like us, and the only thing that separates us is circumstance.
He's not an old-timer at all. He's a young guy who, like the rest of us, waffles between what he knows and what he hopes, and what he hopes he knows.
I was raised in a very musical family, for one, on both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side. Basically, when I was 2 or 3 years old, my mom and dad traveled around churches singing, so I started singing in church ever since I was 2 or 3 years old. We'd get up on the stage and say, Jesus loves me. I just continually saturated myself with music. I just listened to it constantly. I could not turn the radio off, couldn't turn off the tape player. So I was kind of, you know, had no choice but to end up being involved in music in some capacity. Because of the influence that my parents had on me spiritually, when I started writing songs, musically it reflected all my likes. You know, I tried to emulate Michael Jackson or Donny Osmond or those people. But lyrically it kind of reflected my relationship with God and things from a Christian perspective, because that's the way I was raised. I had a desire to be used in music and in drama and those different aspects, so I knew that God probably had me directed in that way. And so, you know, you had these dream bashers that came along trying to say that you weren't good enough, or say that I wasn't good enough, and they were trying to tell me that I couldn't. You know, there's a lot of competition out there and a lot of pressure. So, but one good thing, because of the influence of my mom and dad in my life, they always taught me, man, don't share your dreams with anybody that can't help you achieve those dreams. When I grew up,
I thought, man, I gotta go out and, you know, be real bad or something, so when I go to youth groups, I can have a testimony that'll really be effective. And because it doesn't seem like a guy could use a testimony. Well, I grew up and gave my heart to God when I was 7, and I've been a Christian ever since.
Gonna kick it like this.
I'm probably more of one that likes to express the positive side and the hopeful side. And a lot of people accuse me of being unrealistic and not living in the real world, but there's enough junk in the real world, and that we have to, regardless, we have to face every day. I'd gone through a loss of one of my friends who was killed and at a Taco Bell. She was working at a Taco Bell, and these 2 young guys came in to rob the Taco Bell during the night shift, and her and another girl and 2 other guys who were working there were tied up. These young guys tied them up behind the restaurant and shot 3 of them and ran out of bullets, so they stabbed the other one, and all the rest of them just recovered recently, just got out of intensive care. But my other friend, we had to bury her. You know, you go to church every Sunday and you read the stuff in the Bible and you hear the preacher talking about all these great and wonderful, mighty promises that we're supposed to be partakers of. And I was wondering, you know, these scriptures about, you know, being able to do all things through Christ and all these wonderful, great promises that are in the scripture, are they lies, or are they really real? Music has been great therapy for me in that area, because it seems that when I'm hurting the most, that's usually when you go to the keyboard or something and God, you know, speaks to me. Honestly, one of the biggest battles that I've had in my life is with my self-esteem and with depression and being prone to those type of attacks, which is really kind of silly when I look at it, because God has really blessed me, and I've had nothing but people that have surrounded me with love. I don't know what it is, but times just for no reason at all, I just get depressed and feel dumb and, you know, feel like I'm ugly and feel worthless and stupid. And in a way, you know, that may seem like not as great of a obstacle as like drug abuse or alcohol abuse or sexual immorality, but I mean, what's the difference?
Gonna kick it like
I'm happy that I don't have to be perfect for God to use me, because, you know, there's a lot of areas in my life. Well, all the songs I write about, a lot of them sound kind of preachy, and probably the reason is because they're things that I'm dealing with, that I'm having to learn myself. Like, for instance, the song Save the World was birthed out of my non-involvement in making a difference in my world. So a lot of the people that I just knew in passing, weren't really close friends with, but like knew me at the mall, or that I would call me every so often. There was a lot of them that I found out that didn't even know I was a Christian. And it wasn't because I wasn't a Christian. It was just because I never made an effort to express myself. Not that I had to go beat them over the head with a Bible or anything, but it was really kind of disappointing in myself to know that there's that light that we talk about, you know, God living in us and us supposed to be something different and us supposed to be what the world is looking for, that there were some people that weren't seeing that in me. I had prepared myself my whole life for this wonderful woman that God was going to bring in my life. And, you know, we would unite ourselves and spirit and vision and dreams and go out and continue the legacy that my family had raised in me. And so, in church one Sunday, I thought that I had found this wonderful person, and things that I had asked God to show me, you know, happened, and I thought, man, this is it. This is God's woman for me. And it come to find out about 9 months later, the person that I thought that I had, you know, the first person in my life I had loved, was not at all. I mean, not even close to the person that I thought she was. Wasn't even a Christian. and before it finally ended was about, 7 or 8 months of continual, just horrible, brain-racking, heart-wrenching, trying to figure out why was this God's will or not, because I had probably made this to be God's will. I really had a lot of self-guilt and stuff because I kept thinking, man, I've really tried to keep myself holy for God's perfect mate for me. And what is it that I have done? Because this, as I was finding out these things, this cannot be what God has got for me, because I held out for so much more. Maybe the signs that I'd asked God to show me were really signs that I kind of made myself see and made myself believe. And what was really hard is when you find out that it's not God's will for your life, that that's not the one, that really doesn't change the fact that you're emotionally attached, and it's a difficult thing to kind of break that off.
Who's gonna stop this world from going under? We got the power, but the hour is coming to an end. Here is the call.
I was still a Christian singer, still singing Christian songs, still traveling around the country telling people about Jesus, but that didn't take the place of my personal life, of what I acted like in the airport, or in a restaurant, or in my own community. And so I was kind of finding myself, asking myself if I was living a lie, if I was singing about stuff I didn't know anything about, or if I was singing about things that really weren't working in my life. I did not want to be accused of being a hypocrite. I didn't want to be a hypocrite, because if this stuff didn't work, if what the Bible said did not work, I would be more comfortable out singing about girls, singing about, sex and all this other stuff, and making lots of money. After finding out that, replacing my priorities and allowing God to minister to me and to heal me, I found out, man, the love and the healing that you can get in that, developing that relationship with God, doesn't even compare to the love of, trying to achieve from another person. He is not like people. We don't have to worry about putting our trust in him and being failed, or believing in him and finding out that he's not what he's cracked up to be, or developing a relationship with him and building up all these dreams and wonderful desires and find out that he could care less for us and turn us away. That's the only love that I found that way.
In our last episode, Trevin toyed with Marta.
I sort of had a date last night without you.
Marta came clean with Trevin.
What happened? What happened?
You kissed me.
Kissed?
Omar messed with Trevin's head.
Why would I go out with Jermaine Peters? Well, more importantly, why would you ask?
Because you're an idiot, Trevin.
And Trevin played the fool.
I still don't know.
Don't ask, Trevin.
I don't want the pass, Omar.
Trevin, this is perfect. This gets you out of fourth period. You go down to the track where the unsuspecting Marta is in PE. You ask the equally unsuspecting Coach Miner for permission to speak with the lovely Marta. Right? Coach Miner says yes, because you jump-started her car in a rainstorm. It's inspired. It's
stupid. It's a counterfeit pass. It's doomed to fail. I'm doomed to fail.
This pass is not counterfeit. It has merely been altered, and very skillfully, I think.
Well, stop thinking. You have no talent for it.
This is the thanks I get. Okay. Come here. Listen. My
grandfather has this plaque. It says, "There I sat, all alone and afraid, without a friend." Suddenly, a voice came to me. It said, "Cheer up. Things could be worse." So I cheered up. And sure enough, things got worse. Words to live by, Trev.
Omar.
Trevin, you have got to get back on the horse, man. The civilized world depends on it. You have got to find a way to get back with Marta. You guys invented going out.
What's up?
Hey, Ronald.
Hey, so, I heard you did it with Jermaine Peters and Marta found out.
I didn't do it with Jermaine Peters, Ronald. He went out with her. Such a sleaze bag, man. You didn't do Jermaine Peters, did you?
Omar, you didn't say no. It's all over school, man. And may I just say, Trevor, Jermaine Peters? No wonder why Marta bagged you.
Ronald, don't start. I'm ready to kill.
He may already have killed. Do you think he actually considered the risk involved with Jermaine Peters? I mean, she is like the student body.
Wait. You're absolutely right, Ronald. Trevin, I think you should limit your sexual exploits to the girls at church. They carry a much better class of infection.
Yeah.
That's it.
Trev.
Shut your face, Omar. And Ronald, I already don't like you that much. Just stay out of my face.
It's probably just me, but did he seem a mite testy?
Just a little. Hi, Mr. Plowman.
Hi, Ronald. I couldn't help but overhear some of your conversation with Trevin.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were just talking about his love life. It's a pretty funny mess, actually.
Well, not the Trev, anyway.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you know Jermaine Peters?
No. Not in the biblical sense, but who doesn't, you know what I mean? Why, is she one of your classes?
Not exactly. I'm Jermaine's stepfather.
Picking up communication service.
Got to change or remain blind and Stakes are set high, do or die, like the ultimate prize. Who's gonna stop this world from going under? We got the fire, but the hour is coming to an end. Here is the call, it's up to us to save the world. for such a time as this. Stakes are set high, do or die, like the ultimate prize. Who's gonna stop this world from going under? We got the power, but the hour is coming to an end. Here is the call, it's up to us.